Now that we're working with putty and our actual microchip, just want to talk about a few things that will make life easier and the starting point for the basic shell of a program that you add to. First of all, when we're using the microchip, all the functions for that microchip are in a special library called xe.h. From now on, make sure you always include that library. It lets you turn on LEDs, produce sounds, react to buttons, all that sort of thing. So we're going to always need that. Now, when we're using the microchip, there's a number of higher order functions, not really programming items, but how the chip functions that we would like to control. You might recall that really bothersome watchdog timer, WDT, that kept going off most of the time. We'd like to shut that off. You kind of shut that off using comments like this that I'm going to put in here. I'm just going to copy and paste right now. Okay. These are configuration statements. Okay. This is the standard set that we need. The first one, the only one that we really know about right now, is the watchdog timer, and here I'm turning it off. These are the standard settings we want. So instead of actually typing this out all the time, why don't we just put it into its own header file? So I come over here, add file, configuration.bits, I look at it, it's that code here. So all we have to do is include it. So these are probably always what we're going to be wanting if we're using the putty on the microchip. They just will make life a little easier. The next sort of thing I want to talk about is controlling the putty screen a bit more. One of the things that we can add in is this command. Okay. This command, as it says right here, is wait for any key. This is a function in this library xe.h, which is why I need it here. It simply says, look to see if there's any input from the keyboard, right? So nothing will happen to the putty screen until you hit this. So let's run this. Yay, no errors, right? I'm going to call up putty. I'm going to compile this, go back, see that again, right? And when I hit enter, it prints test. But there's all this garbage here as well, so it's really hard to see what I just did. That's where we're going to do the next bit. It's possible, instead of in the putty doing this reset terminal, you can tell putty to reset itself. Here are the commands for resetting itself, usually in any of these programs. Right? Right? This print statement simply tells putty to clear the screen and move to the top left corner. Let's see how they work. Right? So I'm going to make this a little smaller and pull down the putty screen so I can do two things at once and show them to you. I'm going to load it onto the microchip. And one of the first things you noticed is it in fact did clear the screen for me. And now when I hit space, now it prints out test. That is such a useful little function that we're not going to try and remember this. What we're going to do is we're going to replace this. We're going to put it in its own little file. Right? We're going to add two new files here, putty.c and the appropriate header, putty.h. And in putty.h, there's this function right here. It's called clear putty, and you can guess that what it's for is to clear that screen. So here we are. Make it correct, right? Okay, so clear the screen, wait until there's a key entered, and then print test. If I've done everything right, uh-oh, it is unhappy with me. Clear putty. Ah, silly me. I forgot the include statement, right? It's in a different file, so I need to include the header. T-U-T-T-Y. Do this again. No, it worked no problem, right? Just come back, drag this up again so we see it, and load it on the chip, and we see it clears the screen, then prints test. Okay, there's one last thing I want to mention. One of the typical things for people waiting to respond to or getting a program to respond, they often use the enter key. So in configure.c, there in fact is a little function called wait for enter. It's a little more general. It actually waits for just the enter key. So let's replace this by wait for enter and give that a shot. Okay. All works. Remember, it's already in configure ustart, so don't have to do anything else except use it. And now let's come down here. You see there's some garbage here. I'm going to load it. Move this out of the way. And you can see I can add in, type all these other letters, but only when I hit enter does it come out. Now that's kind of not so good because there's all this garbage on top. So before I print out the message, let's just clear the screen again. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that works. Clear. Now, all garbage. Kaplan. Hit enter, and now there's a clear screen. All for now. Let's just repeat what we've been trying to do with this. Okay. xc.h has all the functions that handle all the special operations of the microchip. We always want that. Configuration bits we always want to include because that controls some higher level functions that we're not generally going to cover. And so these are the default settings we always want to use. We've also created a function called clear putty in putty.h, which clears the putty screen. Very helpful. Maybe later we'll create some other functions like ones that'll change the color of the putty screen. Maybe you don't like black screens. You can look up online all the sorts of ways you can, messages you can send to putty to play around with the screen. Lastly, we've got this wait for any key. setting if we want, or probably a little preferable is this wait for the enter key. That's in configureUStart.h already. Bye for now.